It's a Gundam.
Hey, welcome back. I'm Murdoch. Today we're going to look at some premium Bandai goodness, the Master Grade TR1 Gundam Hazel Custom. Before we get into the review, if you want to see me do more model kit reviews and content like this, please like and subscribe so I know where to focus my efforts in delivering you better content. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get to the good stuff. The RX-121-1 TR1 Gundam Hazel Custom. Some background on this particular machine. The machine first appears in the side story manga Advance of Zeta Flag of the Titans. The Hazel Custom is piloted by the lead pilot of the Titans test team, Captain Wes Murphy. Murphy is a veteran of both the One-Year War and the Delos conflict of UC-0083, known to us as Stardust Memory, which is basically Top Gun if it were Gundams. Worth a watch. Murphy happens to be very fond of rabbits, to the point that every machine in the TR lineup is named after a character or thing that the rabbits have a word for in their language in the story of Watership Down. This particular Gundam is actually what you would call an Ascended fanboy. Why? Well, the original RX-121 Hazel got into a scrap in a sortie against Zeon remnants, and it was so badly damaged they had to scrap and cannibalize it and fit everything on a reserved Jim Quell unit that they had to requisition from Compay Island, and leftover Hazel bits they had on the Aswan. The Aswan is their ship. The Hazel Custom uses a lot more Jim Quell parts than the original Hazel did. The original Hazel had also lost two of the shields that had been built for it, which is why we see it here with only one and a standard curved tower shield for this snapshot in time. Due to its redeployment schedule, it didn't get to have the navy blue paint job because there wasn't time. Fancy that. Alright, things this kit comes with. Well, it's actually pretty reminiscent of its high-grade counterpart, actually. You get virtually all the same things. The machine, a booster shield, standard shield, a singular beam saber hilt, a rifle, master-grade pink chopsticks, and a couple of spare E-packs. And a sticker sheet. Because this kit is engineered from the master-grade Gundam Mark II 2.0 inner frame, it also comes with 3 runners from that kit for parts as well, mainly to do with the legs and parts of the torso. After that, well, the Hazel is pretty unique. As for stickers, it comes with a fairly simple sticker sheet for color correction. The only complaint I have is the one piece that could have not been a sticker and yellow plastic instead is the little V thing in the crotch. You'll see in a little while. I have it painted on mine. But again, because it's me, I've probably painted all those places anyway. Okay, articulation. This model will stand on its own if you make sure the center of gravity isn't too off-center, and it can do some dynamic posing. I say that with, big caveats. Only some, alright? Because the hips are on something of a swivel, just like the Mark II 2.0, and they will swing freely one way or the other depending on how gravity wants to pull the kit. And let's be honest, with the shield booster on, that center of gravity gets moved up a fair bit. Since we're talking about hips, this guy won't do the splits. The way the joints are on the thighs, they won't allow for it, as they're on ball joints. You'll get roughly 90 degrees going out side to side, and the knees will do a bit better than 90 degrees, even with all that extra jointage, but, there's just too much mass in the way to keep them from going any further. The ankles, despite the ball joints, are actually locked into a finite range of motion thanks to the piston assembly that, or piston rods, whatever, assembly that is in the front. Now, there is some articulation between the heel and the rest of the foot here. But from my experience with this guy, it's superficial at best. You're not going to get any cool foot posing out of it. Like, at all. I've tried. Making our way up, the E-Packs seem to be a bit of a gamble on if they'll stay in their slots. Right-hand side for mine seems to like to fall out if I just look at it funny. The torso itself has at least one inner ball joint for doing limited ab crunching, and because they're of the armor skirting, you know, you can't go too far swiveling one way or another. But if they weren't there, it most certainly could do a 360 because it's mounted on a peg slot. Also worth noting about the waist, if you get the sub-arms or Redudu expansion parts, Bandai made sure to think ahead, and just like the high-grade version, their crotch compartment will, albeit with some effort, I left mine partially opened up already to make this easier, it will slide out and allow you to mount the appropriate parts. Coming up to the cockpit, it'll open up enough to reveal a pilot inside, sitting in a panoramic cockpit, but it likes to stay closed and fall apart when I try to open it. I feel like the pieces here could have had a more solid connection, especially with the outer armor plating, as you're seeing here, fumbling around way too much with it. The bracing for handles for the high-speed configuration are on ball joints and have a bit of a friction lock when they're stowed, so they don't just bounce or flop out if you pose the Hazel in an awkward angle. Moving to the head, the neck is double jointed, so you can totally rock that head banging motion going on, and it will rotate all the way around without much difficulty. The beam saber will wiggle in its slot, but it's pretty firmly in there, so it only looks worse than it is. Okay, arms. The Hazel can T-pose well enough, but there's enough stuff in the way that you won't be able to do any weird joint shenanigans. That being said, the arms have a pretty sophisticated elbow joint, so you can practically fold them to the same extent you would with your own arm. The hands are updated and modified from the classic 1 and 1 and 3 digit scheme, as palms actually have a bit of plastic sticking out so they can actually hold the rifle and the beam saber, or other compatible weapons for that matter. And before you ask, I painted the fingertips. There's no stickers for those, I just wanted something that, you know, felt screen accurate. As for arm rotation, you got that in spades here. They'll rotate 360 degrees, assuming they're not going to touch anything. The shields both come with the mounting disc that can be placed on the mounting bracket and rotated any which way from there. Last but not least, the backpack and accessories. I actually really like how unique the Hazel's backpack actually is, and this too, they tried to keep to the same degree of simplicity as the high-grade, as it uses a similar slot system to the mount on the back. The thruster bells are on ball joints and can move around a fair bit, and the booster pod, along with the shield booster on top, can swivel up and down and slide up and back or down and forward. I mean, which, you know, it helps making that dynamic pose. As for the beam rifle, it's all set up for all its in-universe gimmicks. The sensor can fold and flop down, and the side grip is articulated. It's sits on a hinge. The thing is clearly designed to take in long rifle parts if you have them. My only complaint, echoed ad nauseum by other reviewers at this point, is that the E-Pack on it is part of the molded single piece. A few build notes about this kit. It comes with some mesh tube covers. You get more than enough to screw up a few times and still recover, but I would follow the instructions pretty closely for this part. Besides, it looks really nice when it's done. I know my specimen here doesn't have any of the decals on it, but that's partly because I'm trash with decals, so maybe eventually I'll get to putting them on. Okay, what about availability and price? Well, similar to my last model kit review, top right corner there, being that this is a premium Bandai kit, it's not as exclusive as a Gundam Base Edition kit, but these are still highly sought after. Bandai knows when they made a money printing machine with a certain kit, so they will occasionally reprint a P-Bandai kit run. But if you're not fortunate, and you go hunting during a dry spell like I did, you might end up paying some exporter on Amazon an exorbitant price, and your wallet will hate you for a while. That being said, I love the Hazel and most of the TR line, so you can bet I have other master grade Hazel variants lined up as soon as my wallet recovers from this guy taking his pound of plastic. That's it for this kit review. I'll see you in the next one.